This is IA Forward, your playbook for success as an independent insurance agent. Here to help you knock it out of the ballpark are your hosts, Shane Tatum and Tonya Lead.
Welcome to IA Forward. We are excited to have a very special guest with us today. Shane, I think you know this one better than I do.
I do. I've known her entire life. She is the former bratty little sister that has grown up into a very knowledgeable, very beautiful, well-educated, master of learning everything, Miss Kylie Lowery. So, baby sister.
Wow. I don't think I've ever heard him be that flowery in describing anyone. So that's amazing.
How about that?
My birthday is Sunday, so he's trying to
That's
flatter
it.
me.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Kylie, thank you for joining us.
Yes, you're very welcome.
So, Kylie is our technology and educational guru at Integra. And tell us what you're most passionate about.
I am most passionate about technology, but in technology when it is related to education and to learning. And I really enjoy helping bridge what I call the digital divide that seems to really encompass a lot of businesses these days, because we are now in the age where people tend to work longer than they used to. People are not retiring as early as they used to. And so you have generations who are not quite as up to speed as some of the new hires that we are hiring. And so it's really important to me to make sure that we continue to allow the new hires to steam on in the face of technology, while also bringing the older employees up to speed with that, while also continuing to strive for success.
I think I can see with some of our more established agencies that could even be happening between the owner of the business and the new team members they're hiring.
Right.
We have baby boomers who age is just a number, and they're young at heart and they're hanging on and they're not ready to retire or whatever. And now we've got Gen Z coming into the workforce, and we've got a couple of sandwiched generation, Xers, go Xers, millennials, which is Kylie's generation, and then I've raised Gen Z kids, and so I've got some Gen Z children coming into the workforce. 4 generations in the workforce right now. That's a lot.
So what do you see as the best way to bridge this? Because this may be the next book that needs to be written within the family.
One of the most important things is communication, and it's effective communication. And within that communication, you're giving space and giving the employees the ability and encouragement to take ownership of the technology that is in front of them, and giving them the motivation to want to learn and not keeping them suppressed. You never want your employees to feel like they can't do something. So allowing your newer employees to continue on, but encouraging your older employees to take ownership of the technology and be willing to learn and have an open mind to it is extremely important.
How do you overcome that more established employee that just says, I'm not going to learn something new, I don't want to?
One of the most important ways to get them on board is you kind of sort of have to change their heart and their mindset and be mindful and respectful of how far they've come and where they're coming from. If you want someone to change what they're doing or to change their behavior, you have to grab from within. You have to change their heart and allow them to see the importance of that, while also remaining mindful of who they are and where they've come from.
So I can't just say, hey, do this or go to your room.
Right.
That's not what I'm supposed to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not here.
All right. Not here.
Maybe
All
at
right.
home.
Okay. All right.
Years ago, I was working with 2 older team members and showing them how to use a new program that we were putting in place to work with our producers. And I did not realize the level of not understanding technology that they had. And the first thing I said was, take your mouse and point it at blah, blah, blah. And the lady literally physically picked up her mouse off the table and pointed it on the monitor screen, like literally just picked it up and placed it on our screen.
Wow.
And that was the first time I realized the level of technology gap that existed. It had never even crossed my mind before.
It makes me wonder sometimes if it's communication or if it's really an age thing, because there's a really, really funny video of this dad trying to teach this daughter how to hit, and he's got a ball and a tee, and he's like, keep your eye on the ball. And she literally goes and puts her eye physically on the ball. She doesn't swing the bat and watch the ball, right? She literally puts her eye on the ball. So what the 4-year-old heard was put my eye on the ball, which is what she did. It can be communication. She heard put your mouse. Well, she's looking at the mouse in her hand. Well, okay, y'all just told me this was a mouse, so I'm going to put it on this on that spot.
It's always how you say things, not necessarily what you're saying.
And Kylie, you're like me, you're a logophile. And so let's talk about the power of word usage and word selection.
So one of my favorite quotes is by the awesome and wonderful Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, former Duke head coach, wish he was still the head coach. One of his most famous quotes, and he always says it at the beginning of every practice, is effective teamwork starts and ends with communication. That is something I've always thought about when speaking to people, because words matter, and they matter a lot, and you can influence someone's thoughts just by what you're saying and how you're saying it. It's what politicians do. It's how they get you to buy into what they're saying. And one thing I've always thought about is when I talk about words to people is think of it this way. Think about if I say, oh, this hamburger patty is 20% fat. Or if I say, this hamburger patty is 80% lean. Which one sounds better? Both are true. I'm still talking about the same hamburger patty. But which one did you like? Which one got you, oh, I'll eat the hamburger patty? Or which one said, oh, I don't want the hamburger patty?
Yeah, it's good. And don't use your dad voice.
Or your coach voice.
Don't tell your 8-year-olds it's time to grow up.
Yeah.
Did you really do that?
Our dad did that.
Oh, wow.
I won't say exactly what he said, but that was in a nutshell.
So what is your favorite Rexism? Rex being their dad.
He told me one time, and I thought it was his advice, turns out it just come from a John Wayne movie, was talk low, talk slow, and don't say too much. And I was like, I like that. And then later in life, me and Brian, my husband, were sitting down watching a John Wayne movie one time, and he told that to somebody, and I was like, that did not come from my dad. That came from a John Wayne movie.
I mean, because everything good comes from a John Wayne movie.
Basically.
Right?
Yeah.
So what are you most passionate about?
Well, I'm very passionate right now about my kids. We're entering the life stage of extracurricular activities. Reese is full-blown rodeo. We actually have 2 rodeos this weekend. And Adeline has started taking ballet.
Yay!
So that's fun when she wants to do it and participate. We're still in the motivation stage, choosing my words wisely with her.
So how are you balancing work and life?
I don't know if right now I'm so much as balancing as surviving, because it's a very busy time of year. But first and foremost, I do put my kids first. Even if that means I duck out of here to go get them or I have to leave early, my kids do come first. So we have a 30-minute time at home each evening where there's no technology. We put our phones down and TV is off and we talk. I do try to, on nights where we're not running to dance or to practice, cook, and we do eat as a family. We do talk about our day. That is very important.
You showed me a video yesterday of you teaching your son to play chess.
Yes.
And his vocabulary is absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the things that I can see in you coming out in him.
Reese is almost too smart for his own good sometimes. He does learn at a very fast pace. He is very articulate in the way he speaks. And he is a blessing all the way around.
And we're getting him a chessboard.
And we are getting him a chessboard.
He may not know that yet, but we're getting him a chessboard. Because we
Yes.
all want to learn how to play chess, and he's going to teach us how to play chess.
Yes. He tried to teach me in the video that you referenced to, and he was very frustrated with me because I wasn't getting it.
He's already explained that to you once.
Yes, he's already explained that to me once.
Why do I have to explain that to you twice?
That sounds like a lot of business owners right there working with their team. I've already explained this to you once.
Yes.
Why should I have to explain it again?
Reese does not like to repeat himself. even though I have to repeat myself to him, it does not work both ways.
So how does that apply to being the owner of an agency with team members? I mean, if we think about that, a lot of business owners are kind of that way with employees.
I think a lot of it goes back to what we said earlier. It's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. I don't know if either of you have read the Bezos letters, Jeff Bezos letters. One of the things he always did to his shareholders every year is he hand wrote a letter. He didn't send out a memo. He didn't do a PowerPoint. He didn't do a Zoom call. He hand wrote a letter. And the reason behind that is because when you have to put your thoughts and your words onto paper, you tend to think about what you're saying in a deeper sense. And you tend to form your sentences in a way that can truly convey what you're trying to get out versus just talking about it. And so he not only did that to his shareholders, but he also encouraged his CEOs to use words and to write letters and to specifically speak in a way that reflected the culture that they wanted. And I think that's very important when you're talking to your employees or to anyone for that matter. You have to grasp them by the heart. And I don't mean to say heart in a cheesy way, but if you can get people to buy into what you're doing from a sense of emotion and form what you're saying to them in a way that can do that and that reflects your culture, then your overall sense of community within your business will reflect that, and it will reflect that as you go about your daily business and try to be successful.
Yesterday, a major international telecom announced that they were changing CEOs, and that the CEO that they have had for the last 7 to 8 years was retiring at the end of the year, and they were bringing on a younger female CEO. And when you read his outgoing retirement statement and you read her incoming letter, you could tell they were written by the exact same PR firm because there was nothing heartfelt about them, and they sounded exactly the same. And you knew that the words of an outgoing retiring CEO and an incoming female in her 40s would have different words and a different vision.
I don't know what has created that, where we think that we cannot allow people to speak. If you hire through core values, then you should kind of have this understanding of that individual's ability to not stick their foot in their mouth, so to speak. Everybody can do it. We're all human beings. But if you don't hire through your core values, or you don't have core values, then you just kind of have this world of chaos, which is why you need a PR firm. In a big company, you need a PR firm to make sure that everybody says the right thing. Well, what if the PR firm's wrong? What if the PR firm doesn't have core values that match your core values? There's so many ways to pick that apart and kind of make fun of the big corporate scene and go, that's just not good. That just doesn't fit. When we go back and look at core values and we think about communication and we think about using your words and your tone and all those things, well, that starts at the hiring process. That starts at who you bring into your team and who you allow to be a part of your client base, et cetera, et cetera. It just continues to build from that foundation.
Words are the only thing we have of this world that lasts forever. And they can literally make or break your legacy, whether it be your personal legacy, your legacy as a business person. But I think if you have those core values, which I'm so glad we do here, that reflect who you truly are and want to be as a person, and you base your verbiage off of those core values, then I think the rest just sort of falls into place.
You work with a lot of our agents through the onboarding process when they're first starting their agencies. What is the biggest mistake that you see new business owners make?
One of the biggest things that I see, especially from a technology perspective, is they want to chase all of the new shiny objects. They want all of the features that we offer. They want all of the things set up. It's kind of putting the cart before the horse. And I always ask them, why do you want that? Well, because it does this, this, and this, and this, and this. Okay, but it does that to help you with your clients. We've got to get our clients first. We don't need retention center right now because we have nothing to retain. So go back to the basics. And I know I mentioned Coach K before, but one of the things he also did at the beginning of every practice, and remember, he's got Duke recruits, right? He's got 5-star athletes. They did ball handling drills. They did shooting drills. They did footwork. They started each practice with the basics.
They did the same thing that the 7th grade B team did.
Exactly. The basics are the foundation. And if you try to get ahead of that without that foundation, then when the better things or the bigger things or the things that you really want fail, because they will, you have nothing to fall back on.
What do you think are the best basics for our new agency owners to be working on?
Establishing, first and foremost, core values. If you don't have core values, if you don't have a why to your business and you don't go to work every day knowing your why and understanding that purpose, then you really need to figure out what that is. Then from there, I would say you just need to start from the ground up. You need to work on how are you going to speak to employees? How are you going to speak to clients? How are you going to get people to buy in to what you're doing and why you're doing it?
I've had agents tell me before that they don't need core values because they're the only ones working in their business.
That's fine if you are a solopreneur and you don't have anybody and you know you're in your core values. And we didn't have core values written out between 1983 and 2018. Now, we had core values. We had no way of communicating those core values. We had actions of people and words of people that were actually the foundation of creating the core values, and those people were around. But when some of those people were no longer around, like our dad passing away or Sandra retiring through retirement, and I would take that example and go all the way back to the solopreneur and go, how are you really going to explain to that new employee to make a decision, think about something at the point of sale, dealing with an upset customer? How are you actually going to communicate what you want that person to do? That's really what the core values are about. It's about setting the decision before the time of the decision comes.
The communication is secondary to the core values. The communication will be there and it will be effective if the core values are in place and it's truly what the owner or agent, employee desires to have themselves reflected by.
So like me, insurance is your second career. Coming out of education, what is the biggest myth about the insurance business that you got in here and thought, okay, well, that's not true?
I honestly always thought everyone had insurance. Why would you not have insurance? And they had the best insurance. That is not true. Not everyone has insurance. Not everyone wants insurance. They need it. And they also don't have the best insurance. They just want something to say that they have it in place. And that was kind of mind-blowing to me. And I thought, well, why are agents not telling them that that is not good coverage?
I've grown up in it and even took college classes around insurance. So it's been one of those learning curves for me to help with communication, to understand that people don't naturally think about insurance, right? Like I naturally think about insurance. I naturally fix the rug when I walk into the gym at the school to watch a ball game because I'm worried about somebody tripping. That's my normal course of action as a insurance nerd. But I have the luxury of living with a non-insurance person in our accounting manager, my wife, your sister-in-law, and people don't think that way. So there's this reality to what you're saying, this assumption that people just get it. That's one of the things that we do really poorly as insurance agents is communicate to customers. We talk to them in insurance Greek instead of plain English.
A lot of times during some of our leadership meetings, I'll actually text Kylie and be like, okay, what in the world did he just say? What is he talking about?
What does that acronym mean?
So what is your idea of success?
Honestly, it has nothing to do with money. My idea of success would be a full life, a happy and healthy full life.
Kylie, what book do you always buy for other people?
I love books, by the way. I didn't actually...
You're a fledgling librarian.
I'm working on my home library at the moment, stocking it. I actually usually gift Shane a book. I didn't this year. I gave him something
No,
else.
she did not buy me a book this year for my birthday. Let the record show.
Yes.
Kidding.
The one book, though, that I think I've given out the most, and I've actually really given several copies of this book or recommended it in general, is by Shauna Lindquist. It has a foreword in it by Brene Brown, and it is called Present Over Perfect. And when I really sat down a few years back and reflected on what I wanted to do with my life, what I saw and envisioned for our family in relation, to what the Bible tells us to do with that, I stumbled upon this book, and it is about her. It's one of her biographies that she tells her stories in. She was a motivational speaker and basically a workaholic, and she spoke at a lot of Women of Faith conferences. And one night in her hotel room after a conference, she just starts feeling sick. She is worn down, she's sick, she's exhausted, she's missing her family. She has 2 small children at this point. And she opened her Bible and the scripture, be still. She had actually opened to that scripture, and she reflected on that. And she said, you know what? I'm tired of living this perfect life. I'm tired of trying to be the perfect speaker, the perfect mom, the perfect person on social media. She said, instead, I just need to be present. I need to be present in the lives of my kids. I need to be present in my home church. I need to be present in my community. And I need to be present at my daily job so that people can really see who I am, because that is where her disciple field really was. And so I took that to heart. And over the past few years, that's really what I've tried to do daily, is just to be present. Present over perfect.
Present over perfect.
I've given that book out to several people.
We will be sure to put the link to that on our social media, so if people want to check that out, that you can go to our Instagram, our Facebook, or our LinkedIn page and get that information. So what's the best compliment that you could give yourself?
I do love to learn, and I think that is important, and I'm constantly striving to learn and striving to gain knowledge and to figure out what is the next thing. What can I learn now? I think being a lifelong learner is very important.
I was listening to a Simon Sinek video yesterday, and that's actually what he was saying, is that is the first thing after you make the decision to be a leader, is that you have to make the decision to be a learner.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not learning, or if you think you've ever reached the point where, I don't need to read any more books, especially agency owners, especially business owners in general. I credit a lot of my business success, if you want to call it that, to just pouring into books after book after book after book and just learning. And you may not get the whole book, you may not get much out of it in terms of like the holistic piece of the book, but there are nuggets in every book that I can kind of add to just little rungs on the ladder, so to speak. When I hear a business owner, an agency owner say, I don't read, man, I just kind of cringe. You don't like to read? You don't think it's necessary? What is it? I don't know what that answer is, but I would highly encourage all agency owners to read a book, to read often, whether it be leadership books, whether it be whatever. And I'm not a big self-help thing these days, but business books aren't self-help books. Business books and leadership books are development things. We have to always learn. I hope 20 years from now, I'm still learning. I hope 30 years from now, I'm still learning. I hope that I'm learning continuously.
And for some of our agency owners, books may not be your thing. There's so much fantastic information that you can glean by watching videos on YouTube or listening to audiobooks. There are other ways to learn information rather than sitting down and reading an actual book.
Which has really been my shift over the last couple of years is podcast. There's a really great podcast out there called I Forward you can listen to. And watching videos, like I can go down the rabbit hole on YouTube videos and just different people I've subscribed to, and it's fantastic.
So I'm going to let Kylie leave us today with her favorite quote.
So the late and great Pat Summit, one of the best of the many quotes from her is, "Here's how I'm going to beat you. I'm going to outwork you." That's it. That's all there is to it.
Attitude's a choice. Make a great one.
Bye, y'all.
Ready to get the ball rolling with your independent agency? Learn more at IntegraAgent.com. That's IntegraAgent.com. Thank you for joining us on IA Forward. Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now, or learn more at IAForward.com.